talk 3 or 4. So Sesshin's going well, everything's on track. Those minds are settling down, getting into normal rhythm. And what is normal, of course, is beginners get caught by the inner critic. Those inner critical voices of, am I doing it right, not good enough, should be, ought to be. And the more mature people, of course, still have those thoughts, but just don't give them the time of day. Don't grab a hold of them, reify them. And just see that the inner critical thoughts are not important. They're not providing us with any useful information. And here in the Zendo, of course, we have the usual challenges of Sesshin. And people online have some more unique and perhaps more imminent challenges of a different kind. But either place, whether we're online or in the room, the basic rules of life apply. The 4 seals. And things are impermanent. There's not a findable self. There are challenges. Liberation is possible. And I always prefer the word challenges rather than dukkha. Dukkha sounds like it's a thing, whereas challenges mean something we have to meet, something we have to engage with and work with and go beyond. As both Chosen and Fuho have mentioned, part of the foundation of Sesshin is the liberation, wisdom, peace, to cultivate the Bodhisattva heart, part of the foundation of why we're here. And as all of you know, Zen texts and sutras and teachers always are talking about these things. And here is the essential thing. We must confirm and understand by our personal direct experience what the great teachers are talking about. If we don't confirm it, if we don't experience, if we don't taste it for ourselves, it has no life in our life. It's just another book that we've read. As all of you already know, we can't sit at home and read about Sesshin. No matter how much we read, we don't know what it's like until we're actually here in the middle with these challenges, with this hurting back, with these knees, with this mind, with these hours, with this investigation, with this struggle. Only then do we actually begin to understand what Sesshin is about. We have to confirm. And of course, the same is true with all aspects of Dharma. For example, we chant every single day, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. And the Heart Sutra, these lines from the Heart Sutra can easily be understood. You can write books about them, lots of people have. But we must be able to verify this truth with our body-mind. And if we can verify it, we can then express it. If we just understand it and someone says, show me, we have difficulty expressing it. We have difficulty actually giving it life. So being able to realize, to embody, and then to express the Dharma, to express the truth, is the foundation of real understanding. Now, how do we do that? The means by which we verify anything is through alert awareness. Alert awareness of what's right in front of us. Alert awareness of this step. Alert awareness of this breath. Alert awareness of the light that's filling the room. Alert awareness of sound. And as you know, in our rich textured life, there are many, many, many things that are coming towards us all day long. But in Sesshin, and when we're doing Zazen, it's very important to understand what is the object. What is your focus of concentration? And it's not as though there's a better one or a worse one. Some people think, well, I've been doing breath for a while and maybe I'll go on to something bigger and better. It is the state of mind. It's the state of awareness that we bring to these things which is important. The object of our focus can be the hands, the toes, the breath, the nose. The object can be the limitless, unfolding, boundless nature of Dharma. But the state of mind, do we have alert awareness, engaged in this moment, in the experience of it, is where the practice piece is. So don't change your object of concentration. There'll be lots of different kinds of advice. But the object of concentration is not a thing. It is simply the way that we can sharpen the mind. Now, if we are sharpening the mind by paying attention to the hands, and you can pay attention to the hands right now, you can feel the hands right now, but also notice that you're hearing the sound of this voice. Also notice that you can feel the hands, hear the sound of the voice, and be aware of your own body. Also notice that you can feel the hand, hear the sound of the voice, be aware of your own body, and also be aware of the whole room and all the presence of all the people. The object of concentration is simply an anchor. And we can either go into that particular anchor or it can be built upon. For example, if we are paying attention to the breath, whether we're paying attention to it in the upper lip or in the tanden or hara, feel the chest move. Without changing that practice, we can become aware that the whole body is actually moving while we're breathing. The whole body is moving. Subtly. The biggest movement may be the chest and diaphragm, but subtly the pelvis moves. Subtly the neck moves. Subtly the hands move. And if we're aware of that, we begin to see that we can't be aware of the whole body and all the movements of the body individually. We have to be aware of the whole thing. And if we're aware of the whole body moving as it breathes, and we're looking at it carefully, then we notice that the whole body moving as it breathes has no particular shape. The whole body moving as it breathes, if we look at it carefully, is formless, has no boundary, is always present. So with simply focusing on the breath any way you can, as we continue becoming more absorbed, it is possible for that practice to be ever more inclusive. Or we go the other direction, and it becomes more and more absorbing, more and more of the totality of our awareness. And that too leads to some interesting experiences. But it's not a matter of there is the best focus of attention. The matter is alert awareness. It's your own mind. As we are entering Sesshin, walking the path of practice, the way that we teach here, there are stages. There are different aspects of practice. There are some places where they just say, just do this one practice, that's all. But, human beings have got very rich, complicated minds and need different kinds of teaching appropriate for different kinds of people. So we have teachings that are in the mandala of teaching, the circle of teaching, elementary school teachings. And elementary school teachings are not the same as graduate school teachings. And yet the graduate school teachings all include the elementary school teachings in some way. In the Zen tradition, the 10 ox herding pictures have been a way of expressing this path of practice. And the ox herding pictures were first expressed in this manner, the manner being a simple story about taming an ox. An ox, in India, cattle were sacred, are sacred. It's considered a precious animal. It's considered a vital part of farming. Often a family's most cherished possession was their ox. So the ox is simply a representative for the most precious our most precious foundation. And in about the 1100 CE, 100 years before Dogen, Kakawan Shoan wrote down pictures of the 10 ox herding. And the ox herding pictures are basically looking for the ox, recognizing that there is such a thing, beginning to track it, beginning to learn how to relate to it, beginning to learn how to ride it, beginning to learn how to rest with it, beginning to learn how to empty the state of forgetting, and then entering the state of oneness with all things, and then entering the marketplace with your helping hands, as they say. This ox represents what is intimate for the 8 billion people on the planet. What is intimate for the rocks and the trees, the sky. And this ox represents what is free from the dissatisfactions and the sufferings of daily life. So this this ox herding picture is about is a metaphor for finding liberation for some of the stages that we go through, which are relevant to review periodically. And of course, practice begins with being curious about the path. It is helpful, I think, to remember and to recall, to recollect one's vows. Why are we here? Why did we come back? Why have some people in this room have come back hundreds of times for Sesshin? Hundreds. What's our vow? What's our intention? What's our goal? Now, we never know the future. So the goal is, of course, hazy. It's indistinct. We never know what the future holds until it arrives. And so when we're talking about something that's inchoate as the heart's aspiration, as the deepest vow, we have intimations, we have feelings, we have a sense. But only in a few cases it has to be spelled out in detail. And yet something has brought us here over and over again. So we have that vow, and we come to Sesshin and we recognize the presence of our life through our body, through our breath. And we begin the sometimes difficult path of connecting with that presence. Feeling the body as it moves, feeling the breath, doing body scans, counting, whatever we can do to anchor our alert awareness in the direct experience of being embodied. And the traditional practice is the breath, which is elusive. It's constantly squirming away. It's constantly changing. And our thoughts and ideas about the breath are often intermixed. Should be deeper, should be shallower, should be smoother, should be da-da-da-da. And as we begin practicing, we're trying to recognize the embodiment, but then we get lost in our speculations, our fantasies, our thoughts, our shoulds, our oughts, the inner critic. So this first part of Sesshin is about, can we anchor in reality, right here, right now? And how do you anchor in reality? With alert awareness. Can we be alert and aware right here, right now, without adding anything extra? What's present right here is very simple, very straightforward. But then the mind comes in and adds woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda. So that whole first part is anchoring with alert awareness here. And as some people have gone very much in this, you find some stability. We find some presence. We're not caught by thoughts so much. We're beginning to have the body-mind aligned through the breath. And our actions reveal that. How we use Oriyogi chopsticks reveals that. How we put our shoes reveals that. How we open the doors reveals that. How we walk during Kinhin reveals that. That alignment. So like any artist or scientist or chef, we learn the basics. And some people stop at 12th grade. And some people are really curious. They've learned the basics and they realize, oh, these are only the basics. There's more to see. There's more to understand. There's more to recognize. There's something more compelling, more interesting. And they'll begin investigating. And it's that investigation, once the body-mind is stable, then the investigation with alert awareness into the nature of this experience. And we're less and less thrown and caught by all the thoughts about it. And what is it that engages us? Again, a visceral curiosity. Not the kind of speculative thinking. Someone says, well, why did you come here? And people start, listing the reasons. It's appropriate in some contexts. How did you come here? Well, by what means? And people say, well, car, bus, bike. But the visceral curiosity that brings us into a more intimate connection with life is the kind that says, okay, I see a cookie, what's it taste like? And how do we know what a cookie tastes like? Well, obviously, we take a big bite, and we chew it, and we eat it, we savor it. We use alert awareness in the experience of the cookie, and we know something about the cookie which we could not have known before. And if we know something about a cookie or anything else, we then have the possibility of responding genuinely. We all have been in situations where we've heard people give, platitudes or say the expected thing, give cliches, or say something in a very banal manner. Instead of a genuine expression. So if we actually have tasted a cookie, we can actually say, that was really crunchy. I like that. It has a nice aftertaste. And we can talk about it from our direct experience. If we haven't tasted it, then we end up with banal platitudes. Same thing is true with Dharma. With alert awareness in this body-mind, we begin to know and can express the Dharma. We investigate the breath, or we investigate the koan, or we investigate whatever our particular practice is, intimately with alert awareness. The only way you can investigate something at this level. You can't investigate it with words. There's a different phase perhaps you can, but to investigate it with alert awareness. And if we investigate something with alert awareness, then we have the capacity to have a genuine relationship with it, or to express something genuinely, or to express something that we have known, that we have tasted. And in this way, practice becomes a matter of integrity. As we taste, experience with visceral curiosity, practice, and begin to know practice through our own direct experience, we then can have some integrity about talking about it. What do we know? First off, everybody who's practiced knows how difficult it can be to anchor the mind. Everybody who's practiced knows that sitting hour after hour, the body begins to protest or ache or whatever. Everybody knows that when you're sitting doing sesshin like this over and over again, you go through phases. There's boredom and there's interest and there's tiredness and we all know that because we've tasted it. So if we're talking to someone about sesshin, we have the capacity to say, oh, there are these delights and these challenges, and there are these pleasures and these pains. And in this way, we can speak with integrity. Well, same thing is true with the Dharma. We have to honestly practice, we have to honestly investigate so we can express and function. And the first thing, not the first, but the continuing, we become embodied, we begin to be aligned, and we then have the opportunity to turn our thinking away from the endless obsession with self. The endless obsession with myself, my practice, my life. And of course, when we're beginners, of course, that's all we think about. Am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? Am I got this? We got that? Will people think of me this? Will people think of me that? Will I throw the chopsticks in the air and go crazy? I mean, what will people think? But after a while, we begin entering a larger world. The larger world of inclusive awareness. The larger world that is not just a small, tight, what about me, what about me, what about me world. The world where everything is kind of black and white or gray. As we turn our attention with alert awareness to our own direct experience and turn our mind away from the self, or talk about that again, we touch the spacious mind of acceptance. The spacious mind of acceptance. When we accept and we are in harmony with our body-mind, there is space. We're not constrained in the same way as we are when we're wrapped up in the cocoon of I, me, and my and all of our thinking. And we have room to begin to see what's needed, how can I respond? We're not obsessed with I, me, and my, and we're in one with in the flow of this life. We can see that person needed help. We need to have the door open. How do we generate gratitude? How can we be of support to people? And that, of course, has an effect in our life. Here, our emphasis is not so much on the functioning, although that's very important. How you walk, how you open doors, put shoes, eat. That is an essential part of the practice. But in daily life, to forget ourselves and be of service to others really shows the work of the Dharma, the results of the work of the Dharma. Now, we can begin this flow. We are connecting with this flow. We are here. We begin turning ourselves away from I, me, and my, and turning ourselves to the experience of the floor and the light and the whatever's there. Or we can look into the nature of who we think we are. It requires alert awareness regardless. And one side of it apparently is directed out, one side is apparently directed in. So as we continue on the path, and this investigation begins to become more interesting, perhaps compelling, we begin to look at, well, who am I? What is the truth? Now, the phrasing "who am I" is deceptive because it implies there's a who in there. And perhaps the koan, not so eloquently stated, is more of a not. You know? Everything around me is changing. My hair changes, my skin changes, what I see changes, my thoughts change, my breath changes, everything I eat changes, all the cells of my body change. What is it in me that doesn't change? What's left? But even that has a kind of dualism in it. There is not, permanent, passing, extant, not extant. The traditional koan, well, some of the traditional koans are the koan Mu. First case in the Mumon Kan, the Gateless Gate, a collection of 48 koans by Master Mumon. A monk in all seriousness went to the great Master Joshu, and is it true that even such a lowly, miserable thing as a dog has a true nature, has a Buddha nature? And Joshu replies, Mu, no. Where Hakuin decided that he felt the sound of one hand clapping. We all know what the sound of two hands clapping is. What's the sound of one hand clapping? I always like, what is it that's alive? You know, you shed all your skin, you shed all your hair, everything goes through your digestive system. What is it that's alive? What is it that thinks? And the virtue of these is they don't engage the rational mind. Because we are such rational people, we have been trained to be rational and think. And the Dharma, the non-dual Dharma, is asking us to go beyond that. Not to go from rational to irrational, not to go from sane to crazy, but to go beyond into the non-dual. And so these fundamental koans don't have that same kind of duality at the root as who am I does. But there are many other kinds of koans that are ways simply of focusing our curiosity about what is this? Where does this consciousness come from? Was it there before my parents were born? Has it always been there? Is it a thing? Can I find it? What's dragging this body around? Who is it that moves the arms? You can lie in bed, look at one of your extremities, and watch it move and think, oh, how is that happening? Am I moving every little digit, every little muscle? How is that happening? It's moving itself, but what's the connection with me? Who owns this body? Who feels the pain of this body? What feels the pain of this body? What controls the breath? And in the Zen tradition, we talk over and over again that we must have some direct experience into these questions. By using our alert awareness and investigating with our direct experience. Where do thoughts come from? And in this way, we begin to recognize, not be so caught by the transient, but to recognize what's always present. Doesn't quite fit, but... And the interesting thing is, there is no ultimate truth. If there were an ultimate truth, it would be relative to a non-ultimate truth, in which case it would be a relative truth. The foundation we're talking about here is not about is or is not, and yet it is a vivid awareness. Zen Master Mumon, in the first case of the Moenkan, said, in studying Zen, one must pass the barriers set up by the ancient Zen masters. For the realization of incomparable enlightenment, one has to cast away, or you could substitute let go, or see beyond, the discriminating mind. Those who have not passed the barrier and have not cast away the discriminating mind are all phantoms, haunting trees and plants. The discriminating mind that is constantly judging and criticizing and evaluating. One of our wonderful, wonderful attributes as human beings is our information processing system and our capacity to kind of swim through the realms of duality. Put the right clothes on and go through doors instead of walls. But to touch the non-dual, to touch the Dharmakaya, requires something else. It requires absorption. It requires absorption, and there's many ways of being absorbed, but it requires absorption with alert awareness. And in this case, Mumon is talking about being absorbed in what is always present, for another word there. Being absorbed in the experience of presence, the experience of life. Being absorbed and find out how that pervades everything. There's nothing outside it. And yet, it can't be touched. But it has to be expressed. That's the conundrum. This barrier of Zen is called the gateless barrier of Zen. Those who have passed this barrier will not only see Joshu, the teacher in this case, but will go hand in hand with all the masters of the past, see them face to face. You will see with the same eye that they saw with, and hear with the same ear. Cast away, again, let go of your illusory, discriminating knowledge and consciousness, which has been accumulated up to now, and keep on investigating more closely. When all opposition ceases, isn't that interesting? All opposition ceases, you will break through the barrier. In our meal chant, we have the lines, pure Dharmakaya, complete Sambhogakaya, numerous Nirmanakaya. And the Dharmakaya refers to this ground of being, Buddha nature, which has no discrimination in it. Right, wrong, up, down, good, bad, easy, hard. And the Dharmakaya is this fundamental foundation. When we say everything is okay, everything is okay. At our personality level, it's certainly not okay. But at the fundamental level which pervades everything, which everything is part of, it's working like it always works. We could say it's like the word nature. Nature is, in a way, always present, always alive. Bricks, animals, rocks, volcanoes, plants, people, all are part of nature, all part of the life energy of nature. Plants don't exist without rocks. Rocks don't exist without the whole earth. The whole earth has gravity, which allows oxygen, which allows air, which allows people to think and build things and do things. It's all nature. In the same way, the Dharmakaya has no inside or outside. You can't step outside of nature. You can't step outside of the Dharmakaya. We have to confirm it with our own direct experience. The other term is the Sambhogakaya, is the experience of insight, recognizing the Dharmakaya. Recognizing, oh, I'm not separate. Oh, all this time I thought I was alone and afraid and subject to failure, and I'm not. And then the Nirmanakaya are all the kind of manifestations of reality, all the isness of things. So again, how do we touch and recognize the non-dual inclusive nature of reality? And it can't be done with speculation, can't be done with thinking, can't be done with I know, I understand. It has to be known directly by stepping in. And how do we step in? With alert awareness. We absorb ourselves in whatever our particular practice is. Your particular practice is the best inroad to the alert awareness, which leads to the recognition of the Dharmakaya and its manifold flavors, traits. And it's not easy, There's lots of challenges, and there's setbacks and obstacles. Our fixed beliefs are strong, habits are strong, and all of that is part of the non-dual. All that is part. And yet, we have to see through it, beyond it. And usually when we're practicing, and everybody here will have different kinds of insights during Sesshin. And often the insights that we have are partial, they're a glimpse. They're kind of an opening. And it's important that we realize that every insight we have has the capacity to be opened, to be deepened, to be lived more fully. And many people here have had lots of different kinds of deep, clear insights into the nature of reality. But sometimes those insights are shallow and they're not stable, or they're incomplete, or we're not really confident. And we can be thrown off. Sometimes a word will throw somebody off, or a look will throw somebody off. And so we have to become more absorbed. We have to really verify for ourselves this fundamental truth. And then we have to live it. So we are living with integrity from the bottom up, as best we can, as adequately as we can. And then, of course, we have to make it fresh, because things are constantly changing. So an old understanding, bringing in an old understanding, is not fresh. It doesn't have any life to it. It's just some memory. So especially if we're working on koans and we're trying to really present what's going on, it has to be fresh. It has to be alive. It has to be now. The path is not easy, as we know, because sometimes it is dark, sometimes it is hidden, sometimes we don't know what is happening, sometimes we don't know whether we're making progress or not making progress, we're not even sure if we're on the path. What do? We just keep returning and returning and returning to the absorption of whatever it is. If you don't know what to do, relax on the exhalation. If you don't know what to do, feel your body breathing itself. Just return. If you are confused, if your mind is swirling, come back, come back, come back. It's really important as we go through Sesshin that we begin to not have an idea of where we are, where we're at, whether we're making progress or not making progress. It's important that the judgmental mind, which is kind of trying to keep score and making sure we're trying to get a better and better score, begins to go away. And we don't know, is this what's supposed to happen or not supposed to happen? Is this good or bad? Am I making progress by doing the right thing? They like me or don't like me? We don't know. We go back and back and back to the absorption, to the alert awareness of the practice that we're doing. This is part of the path of non-discrimination, part of the step. And if we actually go into that deeply, we're not quite sure what's going on, we're not quite sure where we are, we're not quite sure what's going next, and we just keep coming back and back and back, we can encounter a lot of fear. It can be really scary. Who do I think I am? Maybe I've been wrong all this time. Maybe that's not right. Maybe I don't know anymore. Maybe the list that I used to keep about, how I look and act and how people see me begins to drop away. And everybody, my limited experience, who begins to touch this has some anxiety, perhaps even great fear. What do? We come back to the object of absorption with alert awareness. If you're feeling really good, you come back to the object of absorption with your alert awareness. If you're feeling really bad, you do the same thing. If you feel lost, you do the same thing. One of the virtues of Sesshin is no matter what state of mind we're looking at, the bell keeps ringing, the hon keeps sounding, the meals keep happening. There is a flow that we can begin to trust that is not dependent upon our thoughts. And then there are koans that work beyond these places. Koans that require just complete trust, completely not knowing, and just trust. We have to practice so that the breath, our body, our bones, is the Buddha Dharma. And then we offer it any way we can to try to inspire other people to find the deep faith, the deep confidence that is inherent in their own being. May it be so.